If you ask any My Hero Academia fan who the worst character is, most if not all of them would say Minoru Mineta. The reason no doubt being that he's a creepy little perv who takes things way too far. Mineta's creepy moments are among many others in the series that have taken things too far, be it due to sexual humor or extreme personalities. Let's take a look at some of these moments, shall we? Our list starts off with, you guessed it, Minoru Mineta, the grape-headed, weird-powered creep of Class 1A. In one of the most fan-servicey moments of My Hero Academia, the girls of 1A arrived at the sports festival wearing cheerleader uniforms. Why exactly? Because Mineta, along with Kaminari, had convinced them that said cheerleader uniforms were mandatory for cheering on UA's sport festival competitors. The result was especially embarrassing for Momo Yaoyorozu, who had been tricked by the skeevy little creep, going so far as to use her creation quirk to make the costumes for the girls of 1A. This wasn't the only time that Momo had been caught up in Mineta's schemes either, so there was the added embarrassment of being fooled once again. There's a lot about this moment that took things just a little too far. First off, Mineta's perverted desire to see the girls in cheerleader outfits was very, very creepy, and the fact that the characters are underaged doesn't help things. Furthermore, the way in which the girls' outfits were shown off was just a bit too much, with the typical pervy chest close-ups and deep, bassy bouncing sound effects that anime fan service moments are known for. If there's one way to describe Bakugo, it's probably Garbage Boy, since he has a trash personality. The reason we say this is because Bakugo's social skills leave a lot to be desired. His superiority complex and complete lack of a filter, making us question the sanity of those who call him a friend. Because of how mean-spirited Bakugo can be, there are definitely moments throughout the series in which his harsh words and uncalled-for rage have taken things way too far, like at the sports festival. After the preliminary events, Bakugo made a very brief speech stating he was going to win, going on to refer to all the other competitors as stepping stones to his victory. What's worse is that when Bakugo actually did win, he had to be tied to a pole because he was too rowdy for the circumstances of his victory to stay calm. Bakugo's personality is actually so extreme that it became a plot point, his angry display at the sports festival convincing the League of Villains that he was bad guy material. While Bakugo's personality might have a story purpose, the insults and superiority complex are still taking a bit too far at times. Mount Lady is something of a natural target for all kinds of inappropriate fan art, since her quirk checks a few boxes in the weirder parts of the internet. It doesn't help that she in the series leans into her sexuality, something that is especially apparent in the character's first appearance. We first saw Mount Lady in a city fight during the first episode. She entered the scene with an awesome giant-sized kick known as her Canyon Cannon. An awesome name for a move, by the way, after which she landed right in front of a crowd. Following this, waves of male photographers began taking photos of the female superhero's rear, which told us that the photographers likely weren't with the press and probably sold those photos to some pervy websites. The worst part of these pervy photographers was that they were all mumbling, "money shot," as they snapped shots. Too much, my hero, too much. Mount Lady didn't help matters by bending over in a suggestive pose and acting overly cute, which we assume only made for more money shots. Long story short, Mount Lady's first appearance pushed things pretty far, especially since all of this happened in the show's first episode. Mineta is the worst. Seriously, even though Bakugo has a crass way of interacting with people, Mineta's just plain terrible in terms of his perverse ways. One of the many examples of this came when the students of Class 1A were preparing for the sports festival. While everyone seemed rather excited, Ochaco seemed a bit more intense. Instead of her usual bubbly, all-around friendly and exciting self, Ochaco had a very determined and somewhat dark expression on her face, as she intensely encouraged everyone to do their best at the sports festival. Because of the somewhat frightening aura that Ochaco was putting off in her excitement for the festival, many of her classmates made comments about how strangely she was acting, and Mineta had his own terrible thoughts on the situation. After thinking about it for a moment and then perversely blushing, Mineta started saying PM, only to be interrupted by a swift, painful, whip-like slap from Tsuyu's frog tongue. We're not going to spoon-feed you the joke here, so we'll just say it was straight up terrible and pushed things way too far. It's no wonder Tsuyu stopped him in his tracks with a painful tongue whip that put the little weirdo in his place. Momo's costume and powers have always been something of a hot topic. Many fans of My Hero Academia criticizing the choices surrounding the character almost as much as Mineta's overall character. For those who don't know, Momo's quirk is known as creation, and it allows her to create objects from her body, specifically her exposed skin. Because the objects she creates come from her body, her superhero costume requires her to have a fair amount of exposed skin. This is why her outfit is so revealing, and while this kind of makes sense, the way in which the outfit reveals her skin is both A, pushing things a bit far, and B, not actually that helpful to her powers. Yes, it's weird to make a character's powers reliant on how much skin they expose, especially an underage girl, but it's even stupider that the costume's revealing nature doesn't actually work that well. Why isn't her costume backless instead of unnecessarily revealing her chest? If she has to open up her top to actually use her powers, then her costume has a major design flaw. All in all, Momo's quirk and the costume both push things a little too far in the wrong direction. This part of My Hero Academia is pretty hilarious, but it also pushed things a bit too far. The moment in question is the talk show segment where Mount Lady and Midnight were featured guests. The topic of this segment was something like, is sexiness important to being a superhero? Already a little problematic, right? Well, gets worse. The scene showed Midnight's original costume, which sparked controversy with how revealing it was. Why was it so revealing? Because, yet again, Kohei Horikoshi made a female superhero's powers rely on exposed skin, since Midnight can release a sleeping gas from it. Because of this power, Midnight argued that the necessity of her costume resulted in what is perceived to be sexiness, meaning the necessity was what's important, not the sexiness. Of course, Mount Lady interrupted Midnight's calm explanation by claiming she just liked dressing in a revealing way because she was an exhibitionist, a comment that resulted in an argument and eventually a full-on physical fight. Even if the conversation seemed tame to you, we have no doubt things went too far for everyone when Mineta was shown watching the two female heroes fight on TV with perverted thoughts. Man, Mineta ruins everything. Speaking of Mineta, we have yet another terrible moment of his that once again showed My Hero Academia crosses the line a few times in its pervier moments. This particular moment came from an episode of mostly filler in the 3rd season of the anime. After applying to use the pool for endurance training and learning that the school would allow said pool usage, Mineta and Kaminari revealed the true reason behind their request. Turns out the two of them wanted to see what the girls would look like in their summer wear, namely their bikinis. After a brief fantasy sequence of Kaminari and Mineta imagining each girl's bathing suit, we find out that their dreams didn't come true. At the pool, every female member of Class 1A was wearing their school-issued racing bathing suit, which did not line up with the two class pervs' fantasies. While this moment is actually one of the tamer ones, the motivations behind securing the pool and the fact that they ended up showing the girls in their bikinis anyway via a fantasy sequence sort of superseded the comedy of the moment, pushing things too far. Moving away from the realm of My Hero Academia's sexual humor, we have another facet of the series that sometimes takes things too far: Ochaco's jealousy. Despite how much he tries to hide it, Ochaco has a big crush on Deku, a feeling that seems mutual since both blush pretty badly around each other. While neither of them have worked up the guts to admit how they feel, Ochaco has an interesting way of showing her feelings for Deku. It's either jealousy, which ranges from shock and surprise when another girl is getting close with Deku, or a near murderous aura that shows she's not to be messed with, especially in matters of the heart. This is easily one of the funniest parts about their relationship, but there are times when Ochaco's jealousy is straight up frightening, to the point where we think she might take the lives of her romantic rivals in their sleep. One good example comes from the My Hero Academia film, Two Heroes. In the movie, Deku's touring Eye Island with Melissa Shield when, all of a sudden, Ochaco shows up with a creepy, cold smile, uttering the phrase, "You look like you're having fun," with a burning rage hidden behind a cold demeanor. Speaking of Ochaco's jealousy, one of the other hilarious moments in which she showed subdued psychotic rage upon witnessing Deku interact with another girl was itself a moment in which the series went too far. Of course, we're referring to Deku's interaction with support item inventor Mei Hatsume. The moment in question was when Deku sought out the help of Hatsume to create some equipment for his costume. When he happened upon her workshop, there was an explosion that resulted in Deku ending up underneath Hatsume, who didn't seem to have a problem with it. This was made worse by the fact that Deku's eyes were drawn right to Hatsume's chest, resulting in hilarious reactions from both him and Ochaco. But that was just the beginning, since when it came to actually asking Hatsume for help, she very quickly, examined Deku in the most suggestive way possible, speaking in a similarly suggestive tone that she was feeling his muscles for scientific reasons. Granted, she probably did need a certain degree of examination in order to study what his support item required, but the way she went about it was a bit too thirsty and pushed things way too far, much to Ochaco's disdain and jealousy. There are two instances of Mineta attempting to spy on the girls of 1A, both of which went too far. The first instance came when the students were changing from their hero outfits into their school uniforms, during which Mineta found a hole that led from one locker room to the other, likely drilled by perverted alumni of UA High School. After describing all of the potential sights he'd be seeing through the hole, Mineta attempted a look, only to be pierced in the eye by Jiro's earphone jack quirk. dealing swift justice to the little pervert. Mineta tried to peep again later on during the training camp arc, which brought the students to a hot spring resort. While relaxing after a long day's work, Mineta attempted to scale the wall that separated the men's and women's baths, only to be stopped by Kota, who dealt Mineta justice once again. This would have been fine if it had ended there. Unfortunately, the girls thanked Kota for his deeds, and the audience caught a look at the girls anyway, defeating the point of Mineta getting caught. In each instance, things were taken just a bit too far, both because of Mineta and the fan service that followed his punishment. Tsuyu's quirk is simply known as Frog, a body mutation that gives her all the same abilities as a frog. From a super strong extendable tongue to being able to jump great heights, swim exceptionally well in water, and stick to walls, Tsuyu has a very versatile superpower. Among her many attributes, Tsuyu also has the ability to regurgitate whatever she swallows, a rather gross aspect of her frog-like body that came up in her and Tokoyami's battle against ectoplasm. The goal of this training was to see if two heroes in training could subdue or get away from a professional hero. After being cornered by ectoplasm, Tsuyu broke out her trump card, her regurgitation. Earlier in the match, Tsuyu swallowed the handcuffs that the students had been given as a means to subduing their opponents. When all seemed lost, Tsuyu told Tokoyami to look away as she regurgitated the handcuffs. A moment that was, for absolutely no reason, hyper-sexualized? It's not too pretty to look at, and the weird sexual overtones of it all just went way too far. The half-lidded eyes, the angle of the shot, the drool, the way she was tied up at the moment, it was all very suggestive, and we can't understand why. Despite Mount Lady throwing shade at Midnight for being a bit of an exhibitionist, she's not that much better herself. Exhibit A, she's used her charm to con free food out of a vendor. The incident in question occurred during the sports festival, which was surrounded by all kinds of food stands and pop-ups. Mount Lady happened to stop by one of these stands and couldn't resist the sight and smell of the food. Unfortunately, the superhero happened to be short of cash. Luckily, the vendor was a fan of hers, so she upped the charm and, with a flirty aura, claimed that she had left her cash in a different costume. The vendor immediately fell for this trick, handed over the food for free, and Mount Lady immediately broke her flirty demeanor to shamelessly thank him for the free food, much to the chagrin of her fellow heroes. From what we can tell, being as new of a hero as Mount Lady doesn't quite pay that well, so we can't quite blame her for attempting to get free food. But the sequence was very overt and shameless, taking things just a bit too far. More perverted Mineta moments! Everyone's favorite! Yep, the grape-headed boy just can't help himself. Case in point, during the first villain attack when Tsuyu, Deku, and Mineta ended up teamed together to fight off the villains, he got acquainted with Tsuyu's chest. During the attack, Tsuyu got a lot of time in the spotlight, basically carrying the trio through the attack, rescuing both Deku and Mineta through the whole ordeal. Yet, during all this danger, Mineta still managed to act inappropriately, something he ended up paying for, of course, but nonetheless, things went way too far. First off, Mineta rubbed his face against Tsuyu's chest, which got him tossed across the water and slammed into a boat, a moment that was only topped by his blatant groping of Tsuyu, which he disguised as a hug out of elation that they were saved from the villains. This lewd act shocked Tsuyu, but she quickly retaliated by attempting to drown the little pervert. Seriously, dude, when will you learn to stop being such a creep? Suffice it to say, the grabby great boy doesn't let danger stop him from attempting to cop a feel. Like Momo's powers and costume, Toru Hagakure's power of invisibility has lent itself to some suggestive moments. Namely, the fact that she's invisible, but her clothes aren't affected by her powers, meaning that in order to be fully invisible, Hagakure must take off her clothes, which is why her hero uniform only consists of gloves and boots. While the character hasn't gotten much screen time, well, technically no screen time because of the whole invisibility thing, one of her most significant scenes came when she stripped down in order to use her quirk to the fullest. This was done in the presence of Ojiro, who was very embarrassed at the idea of watching her undress, despite the fact that she's practically already naked and there was nothing to actually see. Still, we understand. That wasn't even the worst moment either, since later on, Hagakure used her invisibility to capture pro-hero Snipe during her exam, a moment that accidentally resulted in Snipe inappropriately bumping into Hagakure, who was justifiably angry at the teacher. Snipe tried to explain that he was unable to avoid it, but the whole scene just felt a bit awkward and pushed the inappropriate factor a bit too far. The final entry of this video is, of course, another Mineta moment. Believe us, we don't like giving him this much of a spotlight either. With all the other things he's done, what else could there possibly be? One of the biggest moments in the series was when all of the students got to put on their superhero costumes for the first time. And while many felt empowered and excited by the symbols of their future as superheroes, Mineta had a different reaction. Instead of sharing in everyone's excitement, Mineta more or less ogled the girls' costumes. Specifically when he saw that Ochaco's outfit was much tighter than she had expected. He stated that the hero course was the best at UA and gave a thumbs up to the audience. This happened a second time when he was teamed up with Momo, whose revealing costume got a similar reaction out of him. Upon seeing just how revealing her outfit was, Mineta once again gave a nod to the audience, as if to say, "Do you enjoy this excessive fan service as much as I do?" And our answer to that is, no! Stop taking things too far, you dang creep, you ding dang creeper. And those are some of the most extreme moments in My Hero Academia that took things way too far. Did any of these moments make you laugh? Are you actually a fan of Mineta? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more anime videos. Thanks for watching.